What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is Preview Picks, the show where I go over the books coming out on Wednesday, give you an idea what they're all about, and whether there's something to talk to your shop about or not. To start off with, we're going to go with independent titles, and Boom Studios has Klaus and the Witch of Winter #1 coming out, and this is written by Grant Morrison. So it's a story about a young man who would become Santa Claus, taking on all kinds of individual tasks, and it looks to be kind of weird, but I'm totally excited to see what it's all about. But be warned, it is a bit expensive at $7.99. Then from Image, we have The Fix #7, which continues on with the story of a few down-on-their-luck detectives in the city of Los Angeles. So it's definitely a pretty cool take, but definitely not for the kids. Black Mask has Four Kids Walk Into a Bank #3 coming out by Matthew Rosenberg, and this is pretty highly anticipated for me. I really enjoyed the first two issues, and there's been a long delay as Matt was writing a few different books for Marvel. From Dark Horse, we have Ether #2 from Matt Kindt, which continues on this story of a man caught between two worlds, this magical realm, and then the regular Earth that he lives on, and these two very different people in those worlds. So it's kind of a cool take on that. And then also Dark Horse has Black Hammer #6, which is a story of a group of superheroes that are kind of stuck in a parallel pocket world after the big event has gone over. So that's a pretty cool story too. Also from IDW, we have Lock and Key Small World #1. So Lock and Key is probably one of the best introductory kind of comic book series. I know a lot of people that don't necessarily read comics that have read Lock and Key, so this is a new story from that same creative team. And then Valiant has a brand new #1 in Divinity #3, Stalinverse #1. So I'm not really huge on the Valiant universe. I haven't had the opportunity to read a whole heck of a lot of it, but there's always a really cool offering that looks to be coming from Valiant itself. Then we dive into DC, and we have Cave Carson #3, where the team of him, his daughter, Wild Dog, they're all going to be diving into the Earth to take on the tasks that are at the origin of where his wife was. So that's going to be a pretty cool story. Green Arrow #13 continues on with the Emerald Archer story arc, where Seattle's kind of starting to turn against Oliver Queen. That's primarily because of a plot by the nefarious CEO of Ollie's former company. So that's a pretty cool story too. Green Lanterns 13 is getting towards the end of the Phantom Ring story arc, and that's the main reason that I jumped back onto Green Lantern, so I'm really excited to see where that's going. And Nightwing #11 is going to see Dick Grayson taking on the Nightlife of Bloodhaven, but this cover's got a pretty ominous message, so I'm not necessarily sure what that's all about. The big books coming out of DC are Batman #13, which concludes the I Am Suicide arc before they have the epilogue in the next issue. We've also got Superman #13, which is going to continue on this small story arc with Frankenstein, his bride, evidently, and this whole kind of magical shade organization and how that rolls into things. And then obviously Trinity #4, which is one of the best superhero team of books, especially if you're considering Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman the pinnacle of teams. Definitely a very cool book to pick up. But the big book from DC has to be Justice League vs. Suicide Squad #1. So this is going to be the big crossover. So it's going to cross over Justice League and Suicide Squad, all those individual characters, and there's going to be tie-ins in Justice League as well as in Suicide Squad. If you thought that Night of the Monster Men was the first crossover, it was, but this is going to be the biggest. Then as we make our way over to Marvel, we see Amazing Spider-Man #22. So this is by Christos Gage as well as Dan Slott, and this is going to be telling this backstory of Ben Reilly, aka the Jackal. So if you were reading the Clone Conspiracy, this is going to give you all the answers, supposedly, to all the questions that you were asking after reading that issue. So it's a must-read for people that are following along with that. However, a lot of people might not be following along with that, so I can totally understand if you're not going to grab it. We also have Dr. Aphra #2, and I was really happy with Dr. Aphra #1, so I'm picking up Dr. Aphra #2. And another doctor that I'm really down with is Doctor Strange #15. So we're continuing on with this whole magical murder mystery tour of the Doctor Strange villains, the Rogues Gallery, and the Orb shows up with the powers of the Watcher, if you remember from Original Sin. So that is always a fun book to pick up. Definitely recommend Doctor Strange. Invincible Iron Man #2 is coming out, so we get to see the development of Riri Williams, especially with the inclusion of the new Tony Stark-based AI. The essence of Tony Stark is now in her suit, and I'm wondering how that's going to evolve her technology. As far as other #2s, we have Venom #2, which continues the story of Lee Price taking over the Venom symbiote, and hopefully we get a little bit more insight as to how that symbiote came to be in his possession, how it got separated from Flash Thompson. Thanos #2 picks up where we left off in issue #1, where Thanos has reclaimed his seat of power and is ultimately dealing with his own demise. We're going to need a little bit more backstory, and hopefully Thanos #2 is going to provide that for us on the Big Purple Man. But the Ultimate Square #2 is a book that I'm really looking out for because I really like the Ultimates team, the whole cosmic universe that Al Ewing's putting out there, and the fact that America Chavez is going to be leading this team of superheroes, as well as kind of partnering up with the Galactus to take on the main issues that are plaguing the cosmos, is a really cool concept. But speaking of Guardians and Galaxies and Cosmos, Guardians of the Galaxy Grounded, issue number 15, kind of broke up the team, so now we get individual books from Gamora. So Gamora number 1 takes on the story of the most deadly woman in the galaxy. So that should be a pretty interesting thing, especially considering the preview that's going on in that one. And then Star-Lord number 1 is going to take off, and he's a little bit less ambitious in his overall storytelling. So that looks to be a pretty fun book too. So definitely those are the 2 new number 1s from Marvel. But there is one with a lower number than that, so that's Mighty Captain Marvel number 0. So this, I don't know what this is all about. The opening of the preview portion of it shows Black Widow in a tutu, Thor, Captain Marvel, America Chavez, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, just kind of sitting around the table playing poker or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. It turns out to be a dream. I have no idea what kind of direction this is taking, but ultimately they're going to have to do some image rebuilding in order to reclaim Captain Marvel from the aftermath of Civil War II. Those are all the books that I'm planning on picking up this week or thinking about picking up, so hit me up in the comments down below and let me know if there's something else that you guys are going to grab or if you have any ideas on what's coming out that could be cool, so I'm always open to start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.